Welcome to the news with me, Robert Karua. The headlines this hour. Suspended Mera CEO and 3 others plead not guilty to 16 counts in case they are accused of mismanaging 100 million kwacha. NFRA suspends 2 senior officers for alleged misappropriate of funds. And government releases 2.6 billion kwacha for holding by-elections in 7 constituencies and 2 wards. And in sports, Solom says MDF not breaching any football rules by recruiting any army players from other Super League clubs. Now the news in detail. Suspended Chief Executive Officer for the Malawi Energy Regulatory Authority, Mera Collins Magalasi, and 3 others have pleaded not guilty to all 16 counts in the case they are accused of mismanaging over 100 million kwacha. The state, through Director of Public Prosecutions, Dr. Stephen Kayuni, has since disclosed that the court will parade 9 witnesses. Meanwhile, in another case, Deputy Director for the Department of Disaster Management Affairs and 15 others have been granted court bail in a case of alleged mismanagement of COVID-19 funds. Our Winston Kaimira was at the court.
The case of suspended Chief Executive Officer for the Malawi Energy Regulatory Authority, MERA, Collins Magalasi, and 3 others was in court for plea taking. They have all pleaded not guilty to the charges. Director of Public Prosecutions, Dr. Stephen Kayuni, says the state is ready to parade 9 witnesses. It is alleged that a contract was dubiously granted to Dorothy Shonga, popularly known as Cash Madam. Chief Resident Magistrate Patrick Jirwa has since adjourned the case to 27th April 2021. Meanwhile, the magistrate has granted bail to 16 officials from the Department of Disaster Management Affairs in the case of allegedly abusing COVID-19 funds. The 16, who include Deputy Director at Dodima, Fiaupi Mafongo, will be reporting to National Police Headquarters every 2 weeks and are required to inform police if they want to leave Lilongwe, among other bail conditions. This is Winston Kaimira for Zodiak.
The National Food Reserve Agency has suspended 2 of its senior officers, including CEO Nasinuku Saukira, for alleged misappropriate of funds amounting to 611 million kwacha. The other suspended officers is Director of Finance, Peter Salamba. NFRA's board chairperson, Dennis Kalekeni, confirmed in an interview that the 2 will wait for the outcome of the inquiry into the allegations. Here's what Kalekeni has told us.
The suspension means that case has not been finalized, and I think it would not be proper for me to start talking about the issues. But suffice to confirm to you as chairperson of NRFA that indeed the CEO and the Director of Finance for the agency have been suspended with immediate effect. The board sat last week and they were reviewing the audit report for the fiscal year 2019-2020, and also they were receiving some reports from subcommittees, and 2 critical matters that came out clearly were that there was a note of use of 611 million kwacha meant for strategic grain reserve and was actually used for other non-intended purposes without authorization. And the other one is that I think there were some elements of misprocurement of services. So these are the 2 issues that have led to the suspension of the 2 by the board. These are issues that are procedural. You don't just wake up and start talking about these things. There are also relevant subcommittees who should be handling those matters, and they'll be reporting to me as a board chair as well as the entire board. We will see when these will be finalized, but obviously everything is going to take shape in the process.
The issue of teacher strike on COVID-19 risk allowance took another turn in Parliament when Mulanje legislator Victor Msowa took authorities to task for failing to resolve the impasse. He warned, "I will, from tomorrow, start boycotting Parliament debates until classes resume." Western Guta reports.
The visibly angry Mulanje Bale Member of Parliament Victor Msowa has blamed the government for failing to resolve the COVID-19 risk allowance impasse that has resulted into students and learners out of school for over a week. Msowa has alleged that failing to deal with the issue and proceeding to debate the budget, for example, shows lack of seriousness in making the country's populace literate. He added that authorities are monopolizing positions for their children that are studying in best schools within and outside the country. Msowa has since declared he will boycott parliamentary debate starting tomorrow until the learners are back in class. Meanwhile, First Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Madalitso Kazombo, has guided that leaders of opposition and government should discuss for a conclusion that should benefit all the concerned parties. The teachers' COVID-19 risk allowance stay-away has entered second week after the teachers started boycotting classes last week, Monday. Reporting for Zodiak from Parliament, this is Western Group.
Area police in Lilongwe dispersed violent primary school learners who took to the streets protesting against the continued sit-in by their teachers. As of Monday morning, teachers in public primary and secondary schools continued to boycott work despite government's plea for them to resume work on Monday the 1st. The strike has now entered week 2. Andrew Viano filed this report.
Police dispersed hundreds of learners from some public primary and secondary schools in Lilongwe on Monday who took to the streets asking authorities to address their teachers' grievances on risk allowances so that they can resume classes. The learners blocked the Presidential Way, which connects the Bingu National Stadium and Parliament, causing traffic jam along the road. Some even went further, pelting stones at road users, mostly vehicles. Clad in various school uniforms, the learners from about 5 schools in Area 25 and Area 49 chanted songs that had one clear message: government should address teachers' concerns.
We have been at home during these 6 months and we have just opened and we haven't been in class since last week. We've just been in classes praying and others are at home who are doing nothing.
All we need is that we just want the government to afford the risk allowance to our teachers, so that as soon as possible we should start learning soon, because the examination that we are going to write, it will be the same.
In Blantyre and in Zuzu, the situation was not any different, as learners were also seen loitering around during the time they were expected to be in class, as their teachers continued with strike. Teachers through their mother body Teachers Union of Malawi have stood their ground, demanding that the government should give them risk allowances as the country wrestles with the global pandemic, or else they will not start teaching.
The Democratic Progressive Party DPP parliamentary spokesperson on finance, Joseph Manamveka, has described the 2020-2021 budget as off track. He spoke in Parliament when he responded to media budget statement presented on Friday by Minister of Finance Felix Murusu. Western Guta reports from Parliament building in Lilongwe.
Responding to the budget, spokesperson for the DPP on finance, Joseph Manamveka, has said the Tonse government campaign promises may turn out to be a lie if nothing that addresses them do not appear in the budget. Manamveka said Malawians are yet to benefit from promises such as the bullet train, free water and electricity connections, as well as 3 meals a day. For this, Manamveka said the budget is a lie, which Malawians are regretting choosing the Tonse government during the 2020 fresh presidential poll. However, members of parliament from both government and opposition benches held government for collecting 96% of revenue of the projected figures in the first half of the year. One of the parliamentarians, Lilian Patel, wondered how government managed to collect 96% in the wake of COVID-19, which is ravaging even the global economy. Another member of parliament, Yeremia Jehana, though, faulted the Tonse government for not doing a systems audit and economic policy check when it got into power, urging it to combine forces with opposition to come up with a good economic policy. Reporting for Zodiak from Parliament, this is Western Guta.
President Lazarus Chakwera, for the first time, has considered his Tonse Alliance-led administration will not be able to timely deliver campaign promises under the current COVID-19 hardships facing Malawi and the world at large. Speaking during his weekly address on Sunday, Chakwera said his government is attempting to summon huge debts and arrears amounting to 228 billion left by the previous administration and seal loopholes of massive looting under his predecessor, Peter Mutharika. President Chakwera also took time to justify governance, political and economic decisions by his administration, which will eventually see a transformed Malawi. From Blantyre, Alex Banda reports.
Taking to different political podiums on his campaign trail in the bid that saw him ascend to presidency, Dr. Lazarus Chakwera saw to Malawians top of his agenda the creation of 1 million jobs, free water and electricity connections, and reduced fees to obtain passports, among others. 245 days in, President Lazarus Chakwera has conceded he will not deliver on his promise. Chakwera has blamed this on the world economic recess owing to the global health crisis instigated by the COVID-19 pandemic. The president also indicated that his Tonse-led administration is making unforeseen expenditures on inherited debts accumulating to 228 billion kwacha to local entities and the readministration of leaked MSc examinations early this year. He added that the public purse was also in ruins, with looters under the previous regime plundering government resources.
The wilderness we entered 245 days ago is a government presiding over an economy of falling revenues. As announced by my Minister of Finance in his mid-year budget review statement before Parliament 2 days ago, 600.1 billion kwacha was projected to be collected during the first half of the current financial year. Yet what we collected fell short of that target by 6%. The wilderness we entered 245 days ago is a government presiding over an economy of rising costs. This has also come out clearly in our mid-year budget review. The unforeseen expenditures towards managing the pandemic and the unforeseen expenditures for readministering the Malawi School Certificate of Education examinations have contributed to an overexpenditure of 2.5% above the 974.6 billion kwacha targeted for the first 6 months. This has necessitated an upward revision of the expected net domestic borrowing in the second half of the financial year by 34 billion kwacha, a testament to the wilderness conditions we are operating under.
The president, while acknowledging these challenges he termed as calamities, has assured Malawians that his government is working to get back on track. He said his government will continue with the extended cash transfer program for peri-urban areas to cushion low-income earners from economic shocks. Meanwhile, the president, through the Reserve Bank of Malawi, has extended to 6 months a moratorium for business operating on borrowed funds from commercial banks. Reporting from Blantyre, this is Alex Banda for Zodiak.
You're watching the news here on Zodiac. We'll be back with more after this.
If there's one thing that all soaps do, it's wash. From buckets to basins, bathrooms to streams, and everything in between.
All soaps wash.
Yes, but Protex is different. Its reinvented formula with flaxseed oil boosts your skin's natural anti-germ defenses by 10 times more, protecting you against 99.9% of germs. So what keeps us healthy?
Protex!
Good health starts here.
Bliss Body Lotion is well refined to give your skin full hydration, leaving you feeling fresh throughout the day. Bliss Body Lotion is a top-range body lotion which contains natural extracts and is found in 3 flavors at a very reasonable price. Bliss Lotion Aloe Vera, Bliss Lotion Instant Hydration, Bliss Lotion for men. Get yourself Bliss Body Lotion today in all leading stores across the country.
I'm a mechanical engineer, and I lead teams. Studying for a PhD with UNICAF University has improved my leadership skills. I can apply everything I learned at my workplace. The teams I lead now are the best. With my tight schedule and heavy workload, there is no other way I could have earned a PhD. Thanks to UNICAF University, soon I'll be Dr. Conceptor.
Welcome back, and this evening you're with me, Robert Kalua. Let's have a look at the headlines before we continue. Suspended Mera CEO and 3 others plead not guilty to 16 counts in case accused of mismanaging 100 million kwacha. NFRA suspends 2 senior officers for alleged misappropriation of funds. Government releases 2.6 billion kwacha for holding by-elections in 7 constituencies in 2 wards. And in sports, Solom says MDF not breaching any football rules by recruiting in the army players from other Super League clubs. Moving on with the news, government has released 2.6 billion kwacha to Malawi Electoral Commission MEC for the holding of by-elections in 7 constituencies in 2 wards. MEC Director of Media and Public Relations Sangwani Mwafuliro has confirmed the development to Zodiak. According to Mwafuliro, the funds have been released in tandem with MEC's budget for holding the by-elections on the 30th of this month. Alfred Guta reports.
Malawi Electoral Commission Director of Media and Public Relations Sangwani Mwafuliro told Zodiak Monday the electoral body is financially safe ahead of the by-elections. Mwafuliro says the government has since released 2.6 billion kwacha for holding of the by-elections in 7 constituencies and 2 wards.
We have received a funding of 2.6 billion from the government. This is according to the budget which the commission had submitted, and we have been funded in entirety. So there is no deficit outstanding regarding how we or what we needed to hold these by-elections.
MEC will hold the by-elections on March 30, 2021. The by-elections will be held in Nsanje North Constituency, Nsanje Central Constituency, Chikwawa East Constituency, Nchisi North, Lilongwe Nsinya South, Karonga North West, and Zomba Changalume constituencies, and also from the 2 wards of Rivilizi in Balaka and Chitagale in Mulanje districts. The by-elections in the Lower Shire follow High Court's February 4, 2021 judgment, which nullified 2019 parliamentary elections in the 3 constituencies. For Zodiac, this is Alfred Guta reporting.
Some Lomo chiefs have warned of serious cracks within Mlakwa Lomwe if the cultural grouping. The trustees continue with the plans of holding Senior Chief Kaduya of Palombe on them as their paramount chief. The chiefs led by Senior Chief Nkulambe of Palombe Traditional Authority Ngolongoliwa, Sub-TA Kamoto, and Senior Group Village Headman Juma of Cholo told Zodiac on Monday that Senior Chief Kaduya is of Manganja tribe and said it's not proper to have her as their paramount chief. But Mlakwa Lomwe Chief Executive Officer Pius Mvenya has downplayed the issue, saying this is an in-house issue which will be resolved within the Mlakwa Lomwe house. Hastings Jimani reports.
On Monday, some Lomo chiefs led by Senior Chief Nkulambe of Palombe, Traditional Authority Ngolongoliwa, Sub-TA Kamoto, and Senior Group Village Headman Juma of Cholo held protests against unveiling of Senior Chief Kaduya as Lomwe Paramount Chief at Mlakwa Lomwe headquarters at Chonde in Mulanje district. The chiefs warned of serious cracks within Mlakwa Lomwe if the cultural grouping's trustees continue with their plans. Senior Chief Nkulambe said Senior Chief Kaduya is of Manganja tribe, and she said it would not be wise to have her as their paramount chief, as if there are no Lomo chiefs in Malawi.
Ndiye ife tafika pano pofuna kuti tipangane powers zikafika kwa president kuti alomwe akukana iwowo sadana ndi akaduya iwowo kusankhidwa kwawo nangasiya nyanja akalamulira nyanja omo koma ife ngati alomwe atipase mpata tikumane akuchilazulo akuti akuphalombe akuthyola akumulanje tikumane tisankhe paramount watu.
D.A. Ngolongoli on his part said election of Lomwe paramount chief should be left in the hands of Lomwe chiefs who know each other and not Mlakwa Lomwe trustees.
Ine siningavomereze koma aini ache alomwe ni mafumu ndi anthu amisi. Ine ndakhala ngati ndili pamwamba ata anene ndi alomwewo mafumuwo ndi anthu wawo.
The chiefs have since written the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development not to accept the name of Senior Chief Kaduya as the acting Lomwe paramount chief. But Mlakwa Lomwe Chief Executive Officer Pius Mvenya has downplayed the issue, saying it is an in-house issue which will also be resolved within Mlakwa Lomwe house.
We have heard about that. Currently I'm coming from a press briefing which we had at the acting paramount headquarters. The issue, it's indoor issue. It's a family issue whereby it will also be dealt by the family.
Apparently, as these Lomwe chiefs were demonstrating in Mulanje, the trustees of Mlakwa Lomwe were in Palombe unveiling Senior Chief Kaduya as acting Lomwe paramount chief. For Zodiac in Mulanje, this is Hastings Jimani reporting.
Ministry of Justice says it has received 35 applications from people that are interested to take up the position of Anti-Corruption Bureau Director General. Spokesperson in the ministry, Bilani Masanjala, says Ministry of Justice has already instituted a 7-member panel to do the shortlisting for interviews. The position fell vacant in December last year following expiry of tenure of office for Mr. Renek Matemba. Happy Njelamano has filed this report.
Government is in the process of finding replacement of Renek Matemba, who ceased to be Director of Anti-Corruption Bureau ACB in December last year upon expiry of his term. Spokesperson in the Ministry of Justice, Bilani Masanjala, says so far 35 candidates have applied for the post. According to the Corrupt Practice Act, Justice Minister is mandated to set up a panel of 7 members to do the shortlisting, a task which Masanjala says has already been done. Masanjala says there are prospects that the shortlisting for the interviews will be done by next week or thereafter. On recruitment of the ACB Director General, the law mandates the minister to send to the president a minimum of 2 and maximum of 3 names shortlisted by the panel for the president to appoint one. In an event that the president is not satisfied with the names, the law mandates him to send them back to the minister with reasons for his rejection, and the post gets re-advertised. Human Rights Defenders Coalition earlier told us that the graft-busting body has a huge task that requires an unpartisan professional to complete.
The Kasungu Magistrate Court has ordered 33 people to pay a fine of 10,000 kwacha for contravening COVID-19 rules and regulations. First Grade Magistrate Domiano Banda says the accused deserved a stiffer sentence for putting the lives of others at risk by disobeying COVID-19 restrictions. The 33 were among the 48 people who were arrested at Kacha Club in Kasungu while drinking beer, passing the 8 o'clock time set by government. Our reporter Noe Nkubwi with the details.
The Kasungu First Grade Magistrate Court has today ordered 33 people to pay a fine of 10,000 kwacha each for defying COVID-19 rules and regulations. The 33 people were among the 48 people who were arrested over the weekend after they were found patronizing a drinking joint during odd hours. They were charged with 2 counts, one of which was gathering during the late hours, and the second one was being found at a public place without putting on face masks. First Grade Magistrate Damiano Banda is the one who has passed this sentence, and the state was being represented by Assistant Superintendent Peter Njiragoma, who told the court that the offences which the 33 committed were serious, considering that these were put in place by the government to curb the spread of COVID-19. And during passing of the sentence, First Grade Magistrate Damiano Banda did concur with the state to say that these were supposed to be good citizens by obeying the rules of the country, and by not complying to the orders, it means that they are risking their own lives as well as the lives of their family and friends. For Zodiak, this is Noron Kubwi, Kasungu.
Let's now have a look at sports. On to football. The Super League of Malawi Sulum has said the Malawi Defence Force is not breaching any football rule by recruiting in the army players from other Super League clubs. FAM says just like any other club, army teams should adhere to transfer rules regardless of whether the MDF offers employment opportunities to players. But Sulum Vice General Secretary Zakaria Nyurenda says Chiwembe's stance on the matter is misplaced because the players are being hired as soldiers and not players. Meanwhile, some clubs have said they want transfer fees for their players who have joined the army. Sam Banda has the details.
FAM's club licensing, compliance and transfer manager Kasper Jangari told us that Malawi Defence Force teams risk being banned from signing any local player for up to 2 or 3 years for flouting FIFA-regulated transfer procedures. According to Jangari, the employment opportunity which the MDF gives to players shouldn't compromise transfer standards, and the military teams have an obligation of paying transfer fees for the services of players sought.
There are no exceptions. The regulations on the status and transfer of players clearly stipulate that
engaging club should approach the releasing club, and if negotiations should take place and an agreement at the end of the day should be reached, be it MDF, police, regulations have to be followed.
But Super League of Malawi Solom Vice General Secretary Zakaria Nyirenda has backed the Malawi Defense Force, saying FAM has missed it because the military hires soldiers and not players. Nyirenda doubts if there can be any transfer fee for a player who has undergone military training but has opted to quit football.
The players are not joining football clubs, they are joining the military. These people are being hired by the Malawi Defense Force to undergo a military training. They are even free soon after their training to stop playing football. They will not be fired because they are being hired as soldiers. They are not being hired as football players.
The current intake for the Malawi Defense Force military training has quite a huge number of players who have been registered by the 4 Super League teams, namely Moyale Barracks, Kamuzu Barracks, Mafco and Red Lions.
Well, that's it for now. Let's take another look at the headlines before we leave. Suspended Mera CEO and 3 others plead not guilty to 16 counts in a case they're accused of mismanaging 100 million kwacha. NFRA suspends 2 senior officers for alleged misappropriation of funds. Government releases 2.6 billion kwacha for holding by-elections in 7 constituencies and 2 wards. And in sports, Solom says MDF not breaching any football rules by recruiting in the army players from other Super League clubs. Well, visit our website, zodiacmalawi.com, for more news. And remember, we are not out of the woods yet on COVID-19, so follow preventive measures without fail. My name is Robert Kalua. Thanks for watching.
Kodi dekoda yanu ya GoTV nthawi zina